There are few people in this room whose lives in racing have not been touched by our next inductee. At the dawn of the 1970s, Val LeSieur launched a weekly trade paper which became absolutely the last word on racing in this region. Known in its first few years as New England Speedway Scene, and later simply as Speedway Scene, it was a motorsports Bible in the days before internet sites, message boards, and cell phones provided all of us with instant news and results. Speedway Scene was a newspaper with a bit of an attitude. 150 years ago, in 1861, Wilbur Story, who was the editor of the Chicago Times, famously said, "It is a newspaper's duty to print the news and raise hell," unquote. Speedway Scene certainly did all that, which was a direct reflection of the man at the top. Mixing results and colorful columns, Val's paper was required reading for so many constituencies. Fans used it as a guide in planning their weekends. Promoters alternately loved and hated its candid commentary. Racers valued the boost it gave their careers. One driver said being on Speedway Scene's front page in those days reminded him of that old song on the cover of the Rolling Stone. Additionally, Speedway Scene provided a forum for some of New England's best-known writers, including Pete Zanardi, Dick Berggren, Phil Smith, Dave Sutherland, Dave Shippey, Lou Modestino, Tootie Gelinas, Dave Moody, Mark Thomas, Craig Korlacki, Charlie Flanders, Joe LaRochelle, and the list goes on, people we all know. Those of you who know Val will understand when I say he was never exactly warm and fuzzy. I ended up working for him in various editorial capacities for something like 9 years. When I started, I was 18 years old, and I had never experienced a job interview quite like that, and I never did again. We were at one racetrack or another, and Val said, in that blunt manner of his, "You coming to work for me or what?" A week later, different track, same question. "You coming to work for me or what?" The next week, he called me on the phone and said, "What's the story? Do you want that bleeping job or not?" I was just a kid, like I said, 18 years old, had never lived away from home, and I wanted more information about it. Val said, "Here's the deal. I'm tired of talking about it. Either you start this Monday or you can go screw yourself." I started that Monday. Speedway Scene was very much a family operation. Val's son and daughter, Bobby and Valerie, who are both here today, helped out in any number of capacities, and not a single issue would have ever gotten out the door without the dedication of Val's wife, Ann, who kept the place rolling. It was a fun place to work, but the biggest joy that the paper gave me, and probably all of us, happened to me years earlier. Speedway Scene's earliest days coincided with my early days as a race fan. And to discover at age 12 or 13 that there was a weekly paper that covered automobile racing in our neighborhood was something that seemed almost too good to be true. Here's how important that discovery was for me. Until I saw that newspaper, my racing world began and ended at Plainville Stadium, which was 7 miles from my home. But what I saw in Speedway Scene made me absolutely burn with the desire to also visit other tracks. Whether it was an action photo of Ali Silva at Monadnock, a victory lane shot of a guy kissing a cow after the Milk Bowl at Thunder Road, a Riverside Park commentary from Tootie, or a NASCAR North race report from Catamount, everything in Val's paper made me want to get out and see those places. I can only imagine how many other kids made their first trips to Stafford, or Westboro, Beach Ridge, Star Speedway, Seekonk, and so many other tracks simply because they'd had their curiosity piqued by something they read in Speedway Scene. Val's paper was where we got the before and after scoop about all the great races of that era. The Thompson 300, the Can-Am Classic, the Blastoff 100, the Spring Sizzler, the old Christopher Columbus 200, the Oxford 250, on and on. And it was with the help of Speedway Scene that so many nicknames became household names. We call Pete Fiandaca the Traveling Man to this day because we read it in the paper. Same with Joey the Kid Carafas, Racing Ralph Nason, Daring Dick Casso, Robbie Crouch, the Tampa Tornado, Leo the Lion Cleary, Gramps Greco. And it was in the pages of Speedway Scene that I first heard of a guy called Punky Karen. Speedway Scene introduced a lot of us directly to our heroes and indirectly to so many of our friends. There are certainly people in this room who never would have met if we hadn't been motivated by that paper to get out and visit new racetracks. And when you think about it, that's a pretty wonderful legacy. Val has done a lot of other interesting things, including founding the popular Race-A-Rama trade show that ran for so many years at the Eastern States Exposition in West Springfield. But his crowning achievement, no question, was his newspaper. In a time in which short track racing was absolutely booming, when fans and teams took to the road like never before, jumping in and out of different racing neighborhoods with a real zest for the game, a zest for life itself. Speedway Scene was a key ingredient. It was a roadmap for how to go racing and how to have fun doing it. It printed the news and it raised hell. It is my pleasure to welcome my friend Val LeSieur into the New England Auto Racing Hall of Fame.
You're a goddamn beaut. He talks about his thing being cut. You just cut the hell out of mine. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees, tonight's inductees, and all of the Hall of Famers that are here. I'd like to thank the NER for putting me in this great fraternity. I've worked on this Hall of Fame for years, and I never dreamed that I'd ever be in it. You know, first of all, I'm going to dedicate this to my deceased wife, who worked 24/10. To my two kids, Valerie and Bob. It's been one hell of a journey. Before I got this guy that lived at my house, and that's where he lived for 9 years, if you worked for me, you had to live there for at least 3 days of the week. We had this guy that everyone here knows, George Pendergast. He worked for me too. Man, we had some times. One would go for 5 days at a time. We'd have about $15 to $20 between us. We'd go all up New Hampshire, through the mountains to New York. Cost us $3 in a motel up in Malta. We'd get the free meals. You know how George always did stuff with STP? We'd stop for gas. He'd give the guy a picture of Richard Petty and say that he was the head crew chief, and the guy he'd give us the free gas. Unbelievable. We went with Dan Meserve's flying circus all over New England. We had this, one of the drivers, Jerry Capozzoli, he'd borrow a school bus from the neighborhood. The whole family would be in the school bus. We'd go for the weekend. Yeah, we went up by Monadnock, and we stayed up where Punky lives. Little store. We never see Punky. He's supposed to be the goddamn police chief, and he's off logging somewhere. Unbelievable. I don't even think 700 people lived in that town. You know, I could go on all night. They told me that I had extra time because them guys don't want to speak. But, you know, it's been one hell of a journey. I had about 20 pages, but we'll just skip them. I'd like to, mention, we had a lot of guys that spent a lot of time on Speedway Scene because that's who they were. Speedway Scene was all the people that were in it, all the fans, all the race drivers, the car owners. That's what Speedway Scene was about, was the real people. People that passed away that did a lot of work with Speedway Scene was was Pendergast, Gene Ribello, Bob Echo, Sonny Richards, Fireball Joe LaRochelle, Brother Pat Evans, Todd Drew, Vinnie Hilliard, Jim Crabtree, Phil Harris, Bob Hunter, Bill Henry, and Jack Flowers. There might have been a few others because I think about everyone in New England worked for me. The guys that did all the work for me and made me famous, of course, was Bones. I used to tell everyone down south, Bones LeSieur, best writer in the whole country. Who in the hell is he? Who's Bones LeSieur? I says, you'll find out. Bones goes down and he enters into their writers' deals down there. He wins 3 Rolex watches. They know who the hell Bones LeSieur is now. Just about all of my guys, I'm pretty proud of a lot of the guys that worked for me that went on, did bigger and better things. You know, we had Mark Thomas, who now does a little paper out of up in Maine. He's doing a pretty good job. Howie and Mary Hodge, Bob Morris from up in Maine, Lou Modestino, Tutti Gelinas Rosati, Danny Ayotte, Bruce LeSieur, Rennie Dugas, Mike Kalanoff, Peter Zanardi, Dave Moody, Dick Bergeron. You know, I got about another 10 pages. Craze Kalaki, Penny Arcady, Mike Joy, Mark Markovic, Gary Grimm, Ray Schuff, Clayton Murphy, Ron Miller, Grace Ryan, John Brower, Dave Shippey, Carl Merrill, Buffy, Ernie Baker, Larry Nisowich, and Christ, I could just keep on going on. They all worked for me at one time or other. And I think I'll cut it short, but I'd like to, everyone get their book there. Take a picture, a look at in there, in your booklet. There's an ad from Prunine Museum. It's in Pawtucket, and you ought to just try to figure some time to get down there and look at, because you'll be really amazed to know what in the hell we really do have going for me that this guy Rick Marichal and R.A. Sylvia does. And God bless America.